Well, good afternoon. Bill O'Leary coming to you this Thursday, July 22nd, right in the middle of the summer. Definitely, we are entering the dog days of the summer here in Florida, hot and humid for sure. So, again, coming to you live. This is part of our Thirsty Thursday series, where every Thursday I go live and I talk about a different topic that may sort of strike my interest or maybe a topic of of some newsworthy importance that might relate to estate planning or elder law or that sort of thing, maybe some probate administration, because that's all I do here at my firm, Legacy Planning Law Group. So, again, as I like to say, if you're thirsting for knowledge, you've come to the right place. So, today's topic is kind of an interesting one: how to care for aging parents when you can't be there as the adult child. So, imagine your mother. Imagine your mother lives in. There we go. So imagine your mother lives in another state, and she falls and breaks her hip. Well, she's going to need surgery, and then probably followed up by rehab. You scramble to figure out how the heck do you transport her home from rehab? How do you get her home? Boy, you wish you could travel there because she lives in another state, but you can't. Maybe because of work or family obligations. Maybe COVID prevents you from going there. So you go ahead and try to interview over FaceTime caregivers, and you hope you find a good one. Maybe you make arrangements for medical supplies and groceries to be delivered in and hope that they get there. Look, caregiving for a loved one has always been hard, and the pandemic has only made it harder. So, the fact is more people than ever are serving in that role as a caregiver. So how do you maybe begin to provide help for an aging parent, but remotely? Well, really the first step is to determine the level of care that your loved one needs, your parent needs. And that care continuum usually follows three stages. First, the check-in. Second, full-time monitoring. And third, that's when we get to the hands-on assistance. So let's talk about maybe laying the groundwork. You should first try to set up communication and tech support. So set up a good communication plan first before there's an emergency and while your loved one, your parent, is still independent. And by the way, that plan needs to consist of more than just a landline phone. Smartphones and tablets are a better way. And as your loved one maybe gets more comfortable with the technology, it's going to be easier to reach them, not just for being able to communicate with them, but also maybe for managing their health appointments and finances and online banking and that sort of thing. Maybe you could set up a smart speaker. Now you are going to need to make sure that your loved one has home Wi-Fi set up. And Amazon not too long ago rolled out a new set of features for their Alexa product called Care Hub, which really allows family members to get notifications when their loved one maybe first interacts with the smart speaker, or if there's no activity by, let's say, a certain time, you get a notification. You can also drop in and say hi through the speaker, just to make sure everything's okay. And if help is needed, then maybe your loved one can say, Alexa, call for help. And Alexa will make the call, as well as send a text and send you a push notification, and either send it to you or a pre-programmed emergency contact. How about arranging for transportation? So look, even if your loved one can drive, they might not be able to drive at night, or maybe after a certain medical procedure, they're not allowed to drive for a certain period of time. Talk to maybe a local agency on aging about local transportation options and rideshare options. There's something called GoGo Grandparent. It's a platform for seniors that don't have a smartphone to be able to request a rideshare like Uber or Lyft, and also find out what transportation services will allow their drivers to help an elderly passenger, out of the car up to the front door. Many of them don't. And obviously make sure your loved one's insurance coverage is up to date. Next, double down on safety. So let's say you're going to be focusing on monitoring. Once you become aware that your loved one has certain issues that pose a safety risk, whether it's physical issues or maybe cognitive issues, you should set up a medical alert system. It can be as simple as a wearable device that will detect and notify first responders of something like a fall. And by the way, make sure the wearable device is waterproof, because a lot of falls happen in the shower or bathtub. You know, there are a lot of options when it comes to home monitoring, including sensors that will tell you, that will alert you when a person, let's say, gets out of bed. It can also notify you that you know, when a pill dispenser is accessed or not accessed. So it'll tell you whether your loved one is taking their medications from the pill box. And even if GPS monitors, there are GPS monitors that will track a person's whereabouts. So something to consider. How about encouraging socialization? So even if you're in frequent contact, it's nice for your loved ones to speak to other people, especially now when sort of in-person social interactions are not as common as they used to be. And now with sort of this Delta variant coming into play, it's almost like we're retreating back to sort of a semi-lockdown situation. So addressing isolation is just as important as health, to the health of your loved one, I should say, just as important as medications are. You know, AARP has a program they call their Friendly Voices program, where volunteers can call seniors who sign up to receive them. And then seniors can also be paired up with college students for companionship. There's an app called Papa. So students can become what's called a Papa Pal, where they can provide transportation and errand running, as well as companionship. What about arranging for in-home care? Well, you first have to find help. So once someone has troubles with 2 or more what are called activities of daily living, ADLs for short, families should consider an at-home caregiver. And by the way, ADLs, activities of daily living, include things like eating, bathing, getting dressed, toileting, mobility, and continence. Home-based caregiving, by the way, is a highly fragmented industry, and companies can be found through local aging agencies and referrals from doctors and friends. You know, the fact is that this pandemic has made finding home caregivers trickier than ever. You should check the agency's COVID safety protocols and the agency's ability to sort of backfill care if a caregiver gets sick or has to quarantine. And then finally, managing care. Once a caregiver has been established, families can use certain websites and apps to coordinate care, share calendars, and communicate. You know, these apps may include things like what are called Care Tree, Caring Bridge, and Caring Village. So hey, if you'd like to know more about how to care for aging parents when you can't be there, and maybe how we'd like to help, we'd love to talk to you. So it's as easy as just booking a 15-minute discovery phone call that's complimentary. You can use the Book Now button here on the Facebook page, or just Google us, Legacy Planning Law Group .com. Hey, if you have enjoyed this video, I'd really love it if you could like it. Or better yet, share it with your friends. Share it with your friends, because if you share it with your friends, then from there, others will be able to get the word. So I hope you've enjoyed this talk, how to care for aging parents when you can't be there. I plan to give another Facebook live talk next Thursday about this same time as part of our Thirsty Thursday series. So Bill O'Leary, on behalf of everybody here at Team Legacy, I'm signing off for now, and go make it a great day and a better world.